Today we talk with Ben Gaskill. He's a co-owner of Everest Ice and Water Systems. It's a company that's helped plenty of people step into the world of ice and water vending. So of course we talk about things like side hustle, but we really talk about the importance of leading and how to make that transition from being an employee to being self-employed. And another thing I really appreciate is the emphasis Ben puts on asking questions. Hello and welcome to the Communicative Leader, hosted by me, Dr. Leah O'Million Hodges. My friends call me Dr. O. I'm a professor of communication and a leadership communication expert. On the Communicative Leader, we're working to make your work life what you want it to be. So, Ben, before we dive into the ins and outs of your advice for running a business, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe what brought you to this career and your desire to help others be successful in their own businesses as well.
Well, I am a lifelong salesperson. I've done that most of my career, and up until about 15 or so years ago, I made a lot of other people money. And I didn't really realize I was an entrepreneur until I found a couple of people. I think that's the way it works a lot of times in life. You find somebody that kind of makes a light bulb go off. And, I said, I really should be working for myself, and I need to find a way to do it. And the people that I kind of learned from were serial entrepreneurs. They'd been entrepreneurs their entire life, really hadn't worked for anybody else. So it was a bit of a leap for me. But once I started learning uh, about entrepreneurship, what it takes to run your own business, the kind of the ins and outs. I really started looking for a way that I could both make money and help people to have the light bulb moment that I had had. To help others understand that being your own boss is possible. It's not only possible; it's preferable, and that anybody can do it.
Well, Ben, I appreciate that, especially the connection, right? Because we know so much of life is about relationships, and I love that you are looking to share that aha moment with others. So, one thing I've been thinking about in preparing for our interview and this line of work that you're working in is, we see a lot of these get rich fast schemes all over, especially on social media. So, can you give us some insight on how to spot that, kind of what that maybe looks like so we don't fall prey to it?
I think
Yep.
it's in the title. I think that if something is get rich quick, get rich fast, get rich without effort, that's how you spot it. There is no get rich quick. That somebody is going to hand you those kinds of blueprints. Now there are ways that you can find a career or a job that can give you money, or where you can make money, and you can do it maybe in a better way. It may be faster, but it's never going to be quick. It's never going to be without effort. It's never going to be without investing something, and whether that's time, effort, money, there has to be an investment of some kind. So if somebody's telling you, "Hey, just do this and you're going to get rich," I think you should hopefully spot that a mile away. Do
Yes.
your due diligence. Take a look at what they're telling you to do, and use common sense. But I think it's right there in the title, right?
Yes. Yep. Like telling my students, do your homework.
Right. In anything and everything that you do.
hmm So we know that in particular, you're in the ice and water vending arena. And I've also heard that on social media, especially TikTok, for example, they don't show the realities of running a vending machine business. So, what can you tell us, kind of this behind the scenes? What do we need to be mindful of before we consider something like this?
Yeah. So everybody really is looking for passive income, and vending
Mhm.
is as passive as I think you can get with income. One of the problems that you kind of see with TikTok or with social media in general is they're trying to give you a sound bite. They're trying to kind of boil it down to something that short attention span. You're flipping through social media that you'll see that they'll hit, and it's really them not looking out for your best interests, but looking out for their channel's best interests.
Mhm.
And so they'll boil it down to a point where there's not any really good advice, information, or a good snapshot of what it really takes uh, to run a vending machine business. And when I say that, vending machine, we're in ice vending. Vending is a very uh, relatively easy business to be in.
Mhm.
Uh, One of the things that people didn't like about vending was you had to stock your own product. You're running around all over town with flats of soda and cases of chips,
Mhm.
restocking your vending machines. Our ice vending machine creates its own product. It makes it on demand in
Yeah.
application, so it makes the ownership experience a lot easier. But that doesn't mean that it's you know get rich quick, or that there's
Mhm.
no effort involved. And so, what's unique about specifically, and I've never been in kind of any other kind of vending, so I'll have to relate it to what we do. What's unique about ice vending is a lot of the work is kind of done in the beginning, and this is the part that I think TikTok probably doesn't tell you about it. A lot of the work is done in the beginning. It's finding the right location, and this is just like any other business. If you're starting a bakery or a garage, you're going to
Mhm.
want to have the right location for your business, and so that takes time. I've seen people that will get a location in 30 seconds, and I've seen it take 60 days of nonstop work, but it can be done. It's with enough effort, you'll find the right spot, and the right spot will check certain boxes, certain common sense boxes, where people are, traffic, um, ease of accessibility,
Mhm.
um, so things like that. So these, when we're talking about uh, kind of things that are boiled down on social media or TikTok, they're not telling you about gotta go find your right location. You're gonna need to check and make sure that you're obeying the laws of the area in which you're installing the equipment. The nice thing with vending is there are very few of them. In
Mhm.
some locations, almost none. But you need to do due diligence and make sure that
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
abiding by all of the local rules, regulations, whatever they may be. You're going to want to scout a location to make sure that you can actually install the machine without a lot of expense. You're going to want to get to know the piece of equipment that you buy. Our vending machine, as far as ice vending goes, very, very simple. Our machine, we've engineered out most of the parts that go wrong in some of our competitors' equipment. Um, Typical ice vending machine has somewhere between 10 and 15 moving parts. We've reduced ours down to one for ice dispensing. So it's very,
Mhm.
very simple, but there's still maintenance that needs to be done. There's still, changing filters or making sure that you have good incoming water and clean electricity to operate a piece of equipment on. All of this stuff, a company that's reputable, a company like Everest, we can walk you through and
Mhm.
we can help you with. And that's what we're here for, frankly, we've helped thousands of people get into business, to own their own business and get kind of on the path to financial freedom. But when you're watching a TikTok video that lasts,
Mhm.
what, a minute and a half,
Mhm.
um, they're not touching on any of that because they're just trying to get the click and get you to watch their video. They're not really giving you any in depth. So get a company like us, give us a call. There's people that are there to help you. You
Mhm.
can ask questions. We don't do any high pressure sales pitch. Frankly, there's no reason to. So we're here to help, and any good company should be.
Mhm.
But just try to understand all of all of the kind of moving parts that are required to open any business, whether it's
Hmm.
vending or other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that when you were talking, I was thinking about how everyone's life would look different if we only showed the highlight reels. And that's what is done on things like TikTok and other social media. So being mindful that that is not the process, that is editing that shows what happens when everything has gone right. And we know
Right.
that that process isn't so seamless.
All of your friends' lives look uh, absolutely perfect because on
Hmm.
Facebook and Instagram,
Hmm.
because they're only showing you the vacations and
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
family time and all of that. They're showing you the highlights. You're absolutely right.
exactly. So another thing that I was wondering in preparing for our chat, Ben, is this something that you recommend for full-time income, or is it better as a means to implement other sources?
Well, as far as the product that we sell, the business that we're in is manufacturing ice vending machines, ice and water vending machines. We have customers that have made this their sole income. We have customers that have done this as a way to supplement their income. So I recommend it for either, but uh, this, just like any other kind of vending, I don't think you're going to buy one machine, put one machine in one location, and have financial independence.
Hmm.
Right? It takes growing your business just like anything else, and it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. But you can certainly do this as a full time job. That's the beauty really of an Everest ice and water vending machine, is that you can run multiple machines as a single operator. You don't have to take on employees, and that's one of the, if you asked any business owner, what's the one thing that is the hardest to manage, it's other people.
Hmm.
Right? It's employees, and so being able to kind of run your own business, but run it with multiple locations and really kind of own an area, is much easier to do in ice vending with Everest equipment than it would be to do it, uh, with just about any other industry you might look at. So you can do either. If you're just looking to supplement income, make a couple extra dollars.
Hmm.
We have people that do this to they want to take their family on that trip to Europe, and this
Hmm.
is how they see they can do it. They have people that do this because they want that new car, or they want a bigger
Hmm.
house, or they just want to hedge their retirement
Hmm.
income. And so people do it for a lot of different reasons. And I would say that's the majority of them. We certainly have quite a few that do it
Hmm.
as a full time job, but certainly more that just do it as additional income.
Hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing that kind of process in, or the effort in, and the outcome being related there. So, what are some things, and I imagine in your role, you interact with a lot of individuals who are trying to get their businesses off the ground, whether it's just passive income or, like you said, that financial freedom. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see people make, in this initial area?
Common mistakes. I think we've covered some of them, not really understanding it all. That some people would like to believe that any business that they're getting into is, set it and forget it.
Hmm.
Put a machine out there, it'll do its thing. We don't have to do anything with it, and I'm going to make some revenue. And
Hmm.
we get people that call our service department and are completely surprised that they have to change water filters, for example, on their own machine,
Hmm.
right? There is a little bit of work that has to be done, and I think that's probably a common mistake. A common mistake is that I see is people that are placing a machine on a location that they probably shouldn't. Just because you own a piece of property on County Road 30 doesn't necessarily make that a
Hmm.
great ice vending location. Although we have a lot of owners that have machines that are in locations like that.
Hmm.
It's just using some due diligence, I think. Um, so, there's we do as much as we can to eliminate those mistakes. We have
Mm-hmm.
blogs and videos and resources, YouTube channel. We have all sorts of things that we can help people to not make the common and basic mistakes that people can make getting into not only ice vending, but any business.
Mm-hmm.
We want to help them avoid that. We want people to be as successful as possible as they can in this industry. And we have somebody that from the minute that you make the decision to make the purchase until the machine is delivered and you need to talk with somebody to get some questions answered, there's somebody here to help you. We literally can hold your hand through the whole process to
Mm-hmm.
try and reduce or eliminate, if we can, basic mistakes.
Yes. Yeah. So, like you said, doing the homework, the due diligence, and I think too, not being afraid to ask questions. I think too often people are afraid to look uninformed or embarrassed. But when we don't ask those questions, we can end up maybe, ruining a vending machine because we didn't realize we had to change a water filter.
Luckily, that won't ruin it, but
Mm.
it doesn't. It'll stop making ice after a while. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. So there's basic. I mean,
Mhm.
we've had customers that have hooked our machine up to water uh, that is would not be considered drinkable, and
I imagine that's a no-no.
yeah. I mean, you, our machine has filtration. It'll make it cleaner. It'll
Hmm.
make it nicer.
Hmm.
But you do have a certain level of quality of product
Hmm.
of water that you have to supply in order to get a good product.
Yeah. Yeah. So my next question, Ben, and this is one kind of maybe asking you to draw from your years in sales before transitioning into being your own business owner. But can you kind of talk to us about how running your own vending business, for example, is different than that traditional office setting?
Well, I think the main thing and what really intrigues a lot of people and gets people to look at something like ice vending is that you get to be your own boss. Um, the decisions you make are yours. The victories that you get are yours. The mistakes that you make are yours. The
Mm-hmm.
learns that you find along the way, the growth is yours. It's not somebody else's. You're not doing for
Mm-hmm.
someone else. You're doing for you, and it's a huge difference in uh, motivation and why are you getting up and why are you going to work if it's for you
Mm-hmm.
and not somebody else. And so there's large differences. In vending, uh, your podcast is Communicative Leader. Well, you're the leader, right? So you get to be your own leader, and that's empowering. There's people that go their entire lives that don't ever own their own business, and there's people that go their own lives and that's all they do. And we offer a way that you can do either. If you just like to stick your toe in, you can do that, or if you'd like it to be,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that. But um, and I might be rambling on to answer your question, but I think a lot of people post pandemic saw a huge change and they saw things that were happening that were beyond their control. They're seeing either themselves or people that they know being laid off from jobs that they've been at for 20 plus years. They're seeing their pay get reduced, their hours get reduced. The money that they may have invested, kind of going away. All of those things kind of beyond their control. And people, when they own their business, want control. They want to be able to
Mm-hmm.
control their destiny, their future, and not leave it up to somebody else. And so, kind of post pandemic, owning your own business became very, very popular because of those reasons. And our product and our type of company, ice vending, became very, very popular because it's one of the easier things. I mean, imagine if you wanted to go start a restaurant, you really got to learn to cook
Mm-hmm.
first. Uh,
Yes.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to do 90 hours. So it's a very, very easy way, or one of the easier ways that you can start your own business, become your own boss, and kind of shape your own future.
Mhm. Excellent. And so my next question is a follow-up to that. And I'm wondering what the similarities you see between kind of that traditional business setting, either as an employee or if you're a manager, and running your own business. So what are some things, if we do make that transition, that we're going to recognize as, something that we've already done, something that we know how to do and that we're familiar with?
Well, I think that's a broad question because it really depends on where you're starting as an employee. But running your own business requires some basic things. It requires organization. It requires communication. It requires you to have an understanding or an ability to learn about things that you've never done before. It requires basic bookkeeping. It requires um, uh, it's I don't know what parallels I would draw from just being an employee, because it
Mhm.
really is the difference. That's one of the reasons why people get into it. One of the main reasons is that you're no longer an employee, or if you're an employee, you are your own employee.
Mhm.
So, uh, I think that this kind of thing looks, when I say this kind of thing, getting into your own, starting your own business, running your own business, working for yourself, looks a lot more daunting than it is.
Mhm.
There's just a couple of things, setting up an LLC and, getting somebody that's going to do your taxes if you get a little bit bigger. Things like that are pretty basic things that need to be done, but it's not as hard as you believe it is, and a lot of people just don't even know it's a possibility. That's really the thing that I enjoy the most is taking somebody who is an employee that has a job, might be a good job. They may even like the job, but having them helping them to be their own boss and start working for themselves.
Hmm. And like you said, if it is as a supplement, even that ability to grow as a leader, to feel more empowered, to have that agency and control on that aspect of your life, imagine will start to feed into other areas as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've actually seen that happen. I saw that happen in my own life. Once I understood that I could be my own boss, many many years ago. Certainly, that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, great. So, Ben, I have two final questions for you, and they're related. And on the communicative leader, I like to leave our listeners with leadership or leadership communication tips. And I'm thinking really pragmatic, what they can do or think of now. It could be a challenge. But our first tip or suggestion, what do you have for the folks who are in formal leadership positions, our managers, directors, supervisors?
Leadership tips. So I think it's right in your title, right? Communication, and I think a lot of people think about communication as a leader is telling people what to do. That's the communication that a leader does, and I don't think that's the case. I think that a real leader listens at least as much, if not more, than they tell, and they talk, they speak. I think that a leader empowers the people that work for them. I think that a real leader will is somebody who can be a good judge of talent. We try and run our business with a simple philosophy of the right butt in the right seat.
Mm-hmm.
So, do they get it? Do they want it? And can they do it? And as a leader, when you're looking at people, sometimes you might have somebody in the right that you have the right seat created. You might have the wrong person, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have the right person, but they're just in the wrong seat. And so those
Mhm.
three simple things: do they get it? Do they want
Mhm.
it? And can they do it? Are excuse me, are very key attributes for being able to evaluate the talent that you have, the people that you're leading, and making sure that they're getting the most out of their careers, that they're getting the most fulfillment, the most productivity,
Mhm.
and at the same time, you as the leader, as the company is getting uh, the same. That your employees
Mhm.
are happy and like what they do, but they're also productive.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate all of that insight, and I'm always struck by how often the most thoughtful advice and the most impactful advice is the simplest advice. Like you said, it's these three simple things. And I think once we kind of strip away all of the extra, we recognize those simple things are the foundation we need to be successful.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a whole lot of new business advice or techniques out there. I think that there's been some pretty straightforward leadership techniques that have been around for a very long time.
Hmm.
And a lot of people have repackaged them in a whole lot of different ways to make them more palatable or make more sense or
Hmm.
be easier to understand. But at the end of the day, it's listening to your team, it's empowering them. If you've hired them and they're the right person in the right seat, allowing them to do their job, and sometimes that's difficult.
Hmm.
I even struggle with that
Hmm.
because as a business owner with almost 65 employees, it's tough when you look at all of it and say, I really, I can do that. I think I can do that great. But I have to trust in the people that we've hired and that we've trained to do it
Yeah.
themselves. And so that's a challenge, I think.
Hmm. Oh, that is a challenge. And I think too, when you identify those things, you recognize here's an area for me to work on. And that's even something powerful to share in connecting with employees when they're, talking about their areas of growth. You can connect in that way. So, Ben, my last question. So, we talked about tips for our formal leaders out there. What other kind of leadership or communication tips do you have for employees of all ranks?
Um, I think a lot of it is employees. Some employees are afraid to ask for help because they might think that that is perceived as weakness. It's perceived as not understanding direction, not being able to follow direction. That they're afraid that the people in leadership positions will look at them and think, well, why couldn't they figure this out? Or why couldn't they have done this on their own? And I think real leaders understand that if somebody's asking for help or clarity, that's something that should be applauded. That's something that should be encouraged. I think that employees need to understand that they're part of a team. If they work in a company, they're part of a team, and as long as the person in the leadership role has communicated effectively the direction of the company and everybody is rowing in the same direction, then asking for help, be it from a team member or for a supervisor, should be a sign of humility, a sign of willingness to grow, and something that should be encouraged. And if you're working in a place where it's not,
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest having a conversation with the people that are your supervisors,
Hmm.
or maybe look somewhere else because it's super important that everybody understand that you can't be an expert in everything.
Hmm.
That there are people that are working at your company that can probably help you. Everybody wants the job to get done
Hmm.
effectively and fast and efficiently, and guessing because you're afraid to ask for help doesn't do anybody any favors. Ultimately, it
Exactly.
will be a detriment to you as an employee, because the job won't be done correctly or it won't be done fast or efficiently. When if you would, and I guarantee you the the supervisor that you may have been afraid to ask is going to say, "Why didn't you ask for help?"
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, that's the number one question that is likely to come up then. Thank you, Ben. I've really enjoyed this conversation and thinking about really what goes into running a business and how to be mindful of all these different influence attempts that we see on social media and make sure that we are as informed as a consumer and possibly a business owner as we can be.
Absolutely. And if you're looking to start a business on your own, become an entrepreneur, or even if you're just looking to start at a new company in a new position working for somebody else, ask as many questions as you need to ask until you feel comfortable. And the company that is going to help you, using our company as an example, we're absolutely happy to help in answering those questions. And if you're going to go work for a new job or a new leader, even if it's just within the same company, ask questions about expectations and the reality of the day to day so that
Mhm.
there's no misunderstandings and you'll be much more successful because of it.
Mm-hmm. That makes me think my dad always told us if you don't ASK, you don't GET. And I'm going to couple that, right? It's such a dad thing. I couple that with the idea of ask as many questions until you have the information you're comfortable with. And thank you, but I think that's really helpful in recognizing when do I stop when I have the amount of information I need to feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Ben. I really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Not a problem. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I appreciate you trying to help leaders of today be better leaders and leaders of tomorrow to kind of step up and take ownership. So I applaud what you're doing, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right, my friends, that wraps up our conversation today. Until next time, communicate with intention and lead with purpose. I'm looking forward to chatting with you again soon on the Communicative Leader.